Ah, it's just me. It's Thursday. Can only mean a few various things, but it's only Thursday. Previous streams have been Friday. Not tomorrow though. Let's check my thingamajig is working. There we go. If anyone out there would give me a audio level check, I never get this right. Let me know. Hello, Emma. How's it going, mate? Thanks for joining in so quickly. Thanks to everyone. Appreciate you dropping by. I'll turn it down a bit further, I think. Not too loud. Just in the background. Just in the background. How are we all doing? Good, good, good. Had a good stream the other night. Good viewership as well, which I was really pleased about. People keep mentioning actually that they don't know that I'm streaming. People, I think it's happened twice, so I'm going to put out a post. See if we can let's do this. There we go. Hey Jalma, how's it going, mate? Hello. Thanks for joining in. Let's make this a bit bigger so I can see it. Oh, there we go. So my main sort of a plan is to have a look at Fleet, because that's what everyone's doing. I was actually quite excited about Fleet. Ricardo, hello, welcome. I was quite excited about Fleet, but now that it's kind of here, I'm not sure when I would use it. So greetings from Brazil. I love the international reach. Say it all the time. Hello from the UK. I was excited about it when I first saw it, and now I don't know when I would use it really. Don't know. I tend to use PyCharm, so maybe if I don't want to create a whole project, I don't know. I've got it installed, so we might have a poke around later. Although, I mean, it's available for everyone to try now, so it might be worth just giving it a go if you're interested. One thing I do like is the IntelliJ auto complete and all that stuff. I do like that. Well, certainly doing PyCharm, I think it's one of the better options. Although to be honest, I'm slowly moving over to. I'm using a lot more Vim now, exactly, and stuff as well, just because I'm someone that would probably do well in the terminal. Vim is life. Oh, Super Chunk, welcome back, mate. Oh, you still got a moderator. There you go. That's handy. Yes. Although I'm much more. Some people, bang on and on and on about Vim, etc., etc., etc. I don't know. I just. I figured that I'd like all the keyboard stuff, man. It's just learning it, I suppose. I was the guy that used to play whenever I played computer games when I was younger. I had all the key bindings, everything was key bound to anything that my left hand could reach. Shift this, control this, alt, all that stuff. So I think just learn, and to be fair, things like that, Vim wise, being able to just delete a word that's under your cursor is pretty cool. That's one of my, well, obviously I'm still quite new to it, so it's very, very favourite. Tab 9 in Copilot works a charm for auto completion. I never used Copilot. Which camera do you use? I have this is a Lumix G7, but more importantly to get the look, this is the Sigma 1.4 16mm, which I think a lot of YouTubers and streamers use, although I think they use the Sony version. Mine's the Panasonic version. My camera's alright. Lens is good though. Spending a month having to search to everything that will change your life. Yeah, I'm slowly learning it. I'm slowly building up to it. Just like I just haven't sat down and spent the time, because you know I've been trying to learn lots of different things, all various different packages and all this sort of stuff alongside making videos, and sometimes I just don't have the time. It's just easy just to use what I know. And like I always say that whenever you're trying to do something that matters or you don't have time, use what you know is the best way to do it. But yes, absolutely, I can totally see myself. All my videos are going to be in Vim going forwards. Everyone's going to hate it. I'm not going to explain what I'm doing. It's just text is going to be tiny, so you guys can't see it. Yeah. Poop. Nice name, man. Hello. And thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed the videos. I really appreciate that. That's kind of like the main thing is people watch the videos, people like them, they learn something. That's absolutely the main goal. So I'm really glad that you're finding them they're useful. It's been I haven't put out a video this week actually yet. It was gonna have to wait till next week. I'm not gonna say too busy. I just wasn't really happy with the way it was going. I was like, I want to push this out just because I don't know. I came live a couple of times, which hopefully people enjoy as well. So yeah. Interesting. What's the criteria you use to pick a Python project? I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Like a project that I want to start. Videos are great when they're with good examples. Yeah, I find I think however, it depends how you learn, but I find that books are really good as well. Don't sleep on books too much. But sometimes being able to actually, if the person's good, when they explain why they're doing what they're doing, and it's done in a good way, the videos are helpful too. But I just find books really good because you can totally go at your own pace. And also some people like. Some of the video courses I've taken, I've watched it like 2 times speed because it's just been too slow. But you know, that is there. So, am I working on any personal projects? Not various. Not really, to be honest. Which is a bit bad. Well, I say I've been working on various. I'm sort of perfecting my Python APIs with loads of different. Various frameworks, like back-end stuff, just so I can get it down to a bit more of an art form. Daily recipes, hello. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. And also I like to try different frameworks, ones that outside of, people always say Django, Flask and Fast API, but there's other really good ones out there which I like. So I'm sort of working my way through those. They'll all appear on my channel at some point as well. But I'm definitely leaning towards like the back end stuff, APIs. Not front end though. Yeah. Videos are great to explore. Yeah, the videos. Yeah, that's true. I found if you're just sort of browsing around, if you a good video that brings you in can just completely explain to you something that you didn't even know that you were looking for, and that's the good thing about it. Whereas if you're getting a book for something, there's a good chance, especially if you have to pay for it, that you're going to be getting, you want a book on this. So I guess you don't get that kind of chance, surprise, I suppose, which you would do with videos. But he did pseudocode or do you know what? When I was learning, I never really did, which I think is a mistake. But I do now, although I don't use any planning tools. Maybe I should. And pseudocode, probably less so. What I'll do is I will just sort of make notes of what I want to do and then put them in a sort of the rough order that I think is right. And I'll just keep referencing back to those notes and adding and removing from them as necessary. So it'll be like, let's say if we were building a backend API, it's like, well, do we want to work on, depending on what we're doing, what sort of user authentication, authorization do we need? What am I going to use for that? So if I'm using Django, I'm just going to use the Django built-in one. And then like I'll think about what the main things I want to do, and I'll eventually build down to the business logic parts, which is the fun bit of getting it all laid out, and I'll just sort of write down notes as I go. So I won't pseudocode it out properly, and I don't really use a planning tool, but then I work by myself when I do this most of the time, if not almost all of the time. So I can see if you're working in a team, which I do for other things, obviously having some kind of tool will really help, because otherwise you can bet some of your co-workers are going to screw it all up, right? Yeah. It's interesting though, planning it all out, because if you go in without a plan, you're kind of going to, I don't know, sometimes it's the eagerness to just jump in and start writing code. You got to be careful with that, because otherwise you just go round and round in circles, and then you end up with loads of stuff that you eventually end up redoing. And that's where I like a really good project structure. And one of the things I'm learning about, I'm interested in looking at the moment, is all like the architecture. So like domain driven, clean architecture, and test driven development. I'm not entirely sure where I sit in what camp at the moment, but looking at things like that and understanding how people build their applications and why, you can start to really see what works best for you and how it all fits together. So let me see if I can get this. Hang on. Oh, that's a really short example. Here. God, it's white. Where's dark mode for this? Oof. So I find this interesting, because if you look at this is really simple, really basic, right? But I don't know if you've ever used Flask RESTful before, but it's one of the ones I've been looking at recently, not because I think it's really good, but because I think it's interesting. But you can see this is a resource is like one of your endpoints. So if you think about one of this could be users, this could be let's say if you were doing a management tool for like a football league or a soccer league or a chess game league. This could be like you could have users, or you could have players, you could have games, matches, all that stuff, and it could all fit under here, and you could like quite clearly see how everything goes together and works. That's one of the reasons why I quite liked this one, because of the resources and the way that it works. So everything's all class driven, and you get this in your main file, which is basically all of your endpoints all listed out. And I first saw this when I was learning about building APIs in Go. So I found that quite interesting. So yeah. Having problems with Selenium. What's 429 is that's not that's too many requests, yeah. It depends where that data is coming from, but too many requests basically just means that. So I'm surprised you're getting too many requests after 7 or 8 keywords. When you restart it, it might generate a new wherever you're getting it from, it generate a new like set of headers and a cookie and stuff. I'm not entirely sure what the best ways to go about it because I'm not sure what source you're looking at, but 7 to 8 keywords seems really low for getting a 429, so it might be making more requests than you're thinking. So it's hard to say exactly. And once you've exhausted all possibilities, then you can use proxies, yes. DJ Broke, thanks man, that's really kind. Yeah, no, it's really nice of you, man. I really enjoy doing loads of web scraping content, and I'm still going to make stuff like that, but I want to make more sort of a wider Python kind of. Well, it's still going to be Python, data, web stuff, but I'm going to move into making like kind of more like Python videos, like the one I did on data classes, which I found really interesting. I think hopefully there's an audience for people that are interested in that sort of stuff, and if I can pull it off, then hopefully people will watch it. And also, I like making back end stuff, so I'm going to do stuff like that as well. But thanks for the kind comments, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you. The downside, of course, is pretty much I make videos based on if I found it interesting or not, or if I learned something new about it and I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. So it's not like I've just got a list of, I'm not going through the Python documentation and going, then let's do a video on this, then let's do a video on that. So I'll have to sort of figure it out. Vim is a hot topic too. It is. It feels like a bit more of like a meme topic, and I'm not sure I'm going to be that creator, to be honest. Although I am thinking about doing a video on getting started, as in, because there's a really cool, the guy that he streams quite a lot actually. He's called Chris at Machine. He made LunaVim. I don't like LunaVim. I found it too much, as in there was just too much shit that I didn't really want. But he's got another one called NeoVim from scratch or something, and it's pretty good starting config for those people that don't want to go through. Because if you want to use Vim, you need to use all the plugins as well, because otherwise no one's going to use it. Let's be honest. So having a good base point. So I'm thinking about doing something like that, but I don't know. We'll see. What's a Python project or script that you would never write? I don't know. I've turned projects down before. Of course I have. I've turned lots of things down for various reasons. Nothing unethical though. There's lots of things in Python that I don't really do, like any GUI stuff I don't do. I'm not a data scientist or a data analyst, so although I know how the basics of using pandas, I'm not a master at it by a long way. Yeah, don't know. What's the best way to keep Python script running and restart on errors? What I would say to that is I would depending on what you're trying to achieve, Jasper, I would say if it's errors that are causing your program to stop before it's finished, you want to start looking at exceptions, as Broke mentioned. But what you really want to do is you want to actually look at what errors and exceptions you're getting, so you can handle them properly. So you can actually make sure that if something else happens, you don't just blast over it and then end up with a load of stuff that you didn't mean to happen. I tend to run my scripts on DigitalOcean Droplet, so just the cheapest one, which I think might even be $3 a month now. I just run it on a cron job, and I would just schedule it to run at X amount of times per day, and I just log it all as well. So if you're going to do that, you need to implement some kind of logging so you can see what happened if other things go wrong. So I wouldn't really ever do a restart if it errors. Hopefully that helped you out. I never really understood I don't know. I never looked into it, so it's hard to say. But I never really understood the point of UI stuff in Python or anything. If you're genuinely building a UI app now, aren't you using Electron or something like that? I guess. That's what Discord's built in, for example. Not saying that that's good or bad, but I just can't see that I would ever do it in Python. Like, what's it called? Tkinter, whatever it's called. I don't know. It's like Double Down, because you can't even turn it easily into an exe file to give to people. Yeah, that's exactly what I just said. Yeah, exactly. If you're building something for someone now, Python will do. Okay, yeah. If you're building something for someone now, a client, it's 100% web based. No one. Not saying no one. Most companies, all of their systems almost now are web based. So I don't know why you wouldn't build something that had a web interface. And if you're going to do that in Python, the easiest way to get into that is Django, because it covers everything for you. So you don't have to write all the stuff that you're pretty much going to mess up, like authentication and any kind of basic security vulnerabilities yourself. And you can just focus on building it. I like Django. I've been using it enough recently. Probably because a lot of the back-end stuff I've been building has been super lightweight. So there's just no point in using Django. I just don't need it. I'm doing basic auth, data in, data out, not so. And most of them are just, they don't have a front end, so I don't need it. So I don't need any JavaScript. Oof. As Python developers, what JavaScript front end framework would you choose if you were going to learn one? Difficult question. I think I would do Vue. Why don't you move into more sophisticated subjects and data engineering? I could do. I'm not a massive expert in those fields, although I suppose I do know ETL, but the problem is that when you go much more specialized and more I would say advanced, but I don't mean like super advanced. The viewer base just drops right down because people aren't interested. So it's difficult to fit those in. Data engineering does interest me though. So I would like to do stuff like that, but I don't know if it'll come. I don't know if it'll work. Do I have any good stuff on security stuff like sanitizing inputs? Nothing outside the normal. When you mean sanitizing inputs, I think when I use Django REST framework, so I think it does all of that for you when you serialize it all, or before that. So you can't actually. That's a good question. I'm not. No, maybe not. Maybe not is the answer. Nothing outside of what is basically in there already. So, what's the largest web scraping project you've done? I don't want to go. Yeah, I need to look into. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty good with Django, but I mean, if I was to work, most of the stuff that I've done, if not almost all of it, with Django, or it is for like private clients, so you don't need to worry so much about that because no one apart from your client is using your web app. Whereas if I was going to go into a production environment for something like, like a bigger front end, but a bigger Django application that has thousands of users, I think I'd have a lot to learn on. In fact, I would have a lot to learn on that respect. I'm pretty confident, and I've looked at back-end code for other projects. There's this one called Bookmark. Was that looking at that one? Bookmark. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And I understand the code and everything, but I think to work on a project like that has like thousands of users would be very interesting. I think quite eye-opening to me. The largest web scraping project I've done, I can't go into too many details because I did work for someone, I did get paid to do it, so I don't want to give away too much stuff, but it was, I'll say like 100,000 products, 100,000 product or 100,000 calls over 5 or 6 sites, and I wrote a pretty aggressive async scraper with proxies up to the hills, and it worked pretty well until the site started to change, and we eventually gave up on the project. But I wasn't running that often, but yeah, it was quite a lot of data. So has anyone else tried Fleet yet? It's like 100k. Like, it's not that big in terms, but I was trying to do it as quickly as possible. So it was fun to manage all the async stuff. Not seen it. VS Code Killer, indeed. Have you watched Fireship's video on it? He explains it all quite well. I think he does quite a good job of it, as always. It's there we go. The right one. Looks like this. Oh no, I can't see the chat. Hang on. I don't have a good solution for this, so you guys are just gonna have to deal with this for the moment. So, oh dear, it goes off the screen. I am using i3, so I wonder if like, oh no, they do fit. No, they do fit. So it's basically, let's move you guys all over here, just so I can read. My face is going to have to be in the way from the bottom because I can't bother to try and move it. Make this bigger. Can I make this bigger? Zoom in and out, please. No? Okay, never mind then. I haven't used this much yet, actually. One thing that I do like, they always have nice built-in default themes, right? I think this is the purple one. I don't know what this button, this isn't even a button. I don't know if you can see that. This is just a thing. That's really, I find that really irritating. This doesn't do anything. Very few options. You have to click smart mode as well if you want completion and all that, which I guess. This is pretty cool though. You get these like things and you can choose what tool they are. So if you want your debugger on this side or Docker, which it does natively, is pretty cool. I don't know. I find it interesting. Like I said at the beginning, I just don't see how where I would ever use this at the moment, to be honest. We'll see though. Especially if it goes paid. I can't remember if it's supposed to be like proper paid or whether you can have an individual license for free. I don't know. Interesting though. I do a video on setting up scrapers to run on a schedule. I've got one. I think it's a bit older. But yeah, basically I just start up a DigitalOcean droplet. And obviously there are other providers like Linode as well as a good one. It's just a Linux machine in the cloud, which they manage for you, and you can just run it all on cron, which is what I do. Use Windows 10 Task Scheduler on an old PC. Well, if that works for you, then that's fine. I've done it on Raspberry Pi as well before. I've got one over there somewhere which is actually unplugged and not doing anything at the moment because I don't know. So the cron tab. It's pretty simple to use once you get used to it. Although if you've never used Linux before, you might find it a bit more difficult because obviously it's all Linux commands. But generally speaking, if you're just pulling data off the web with your scraping scripts, it's not going to be particularly resource intensive, as in like CPU and whatnot. So one Raspberry Pi or one old PC that you can run in your house cheap will work absolutely fine. The good thing about the DigitalOcean is you can access it from anywhere. So if you're not at your computer, you can just SSH into it. Good thing and a bad thing, I suppose. Although I don't think there's much in the way of security risks, which is a good thing as well because they manage it all for you. I've definitely done a video on it before. I can redo it though. I think some of my older videos have good information in them, but it's not laid out particularly well. Who knew learning how to make videos on YouTube was a skill and that you get better at it over time? I mean, surprise. So yeah. One thing that I like about having a separate place where you store your data is that you can just run your separate scraping scripts from anywhere, and you can just push your data into your API with your database, and you can hold that in one central place, and you can access all the data from that project easily from there. That's why I would definitely recommend doing that if you get to the point where you have a lot more information that you're trying to deal with. Or if you're trying to pull information from multiple sources and save it in one place, again, having it accessible from the web is pretty handy. Although you do have to then deal with some security stuff, obviously, if you're going to host it, so people could find it. But that's not too difficult, especially if you use, like we talked about earlier, DRF, Django REST framework. The security stuff it built in is all pretty good. So yeah. Hey Lucas, hello from Brazil. More Brazilians, fantastic. What time is it in Brazil? You must be ahead. You must be -6 or 7. So 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I guess. Time zone thing's a bit more difficult. I tend to stream a bit late at night in the UK, so it's like nearly 10 o'clock in the UK. Which means anyone that's ahead of me doesn't... 16:51, okay, cool. So anyone ahead of me doesn't really get the opportunity to watch as much. I'd love to do something about that, but obviously I can't at the moment. I've got work to do, other things to do, so I'd literally just do this whenever I can. Old videos are still gems. Thanks, man. I can't watch them. They're too cringy. Especially some of the really old ones. Just the way that I'm so bad. I'm so bad at talking about stuff. Like a robot. Ugh. Yeah, the hidden API ones just blew up out of nowhere. No, literally nowhere. That's just YouTube doing its thing. Chicken Wing, hello. How do you get the text of the tag? Hey, Christoph. Yeah, late again, mate. You just turn up like 40 minutes to an hour after I start. So if what you want to do, Chicken Wing, is if you want that actual text, you want the attributes. So depending on what package you're using, it's like .attrs or like something like that, and you can then access the attributes from that element as a dictionary. So then you can pull that information out. So if you're using Beautiful Super, whichever one you're using, look at getting the element attributes, and that will lead you to getting the text out of any of the attributes that are there. San Diego, nice. I'm going that way soon, actually. Well, I say that way. I'm going to LA, America. It's probably about 1,000 miles away, knowing the US. Good evening from Vienna. Nice. Lithuania, fantastic. YouTube algorithm feeding you all the traffic. Yes, it literally did. I have no idea why. I didn't change anything. Because I go back through my old videos and I look at them and I look at the analytics and I think, okay, this one could be good, but people aren't clicking on it because the title and the thumbnail stinks. So I changed them, and I've got a few that I changed, and all of a sudden now they rank pretty high up. I think it's my dictionaries one. So if you go to YouTube and you look up Python dictionaries. Yeah, mine's like the 4th one down. That video was just like dead in the water for almost a year, and I was like, this is not that bad an explanation of this, so I could, I'll do something about it. And now it's 4th if you search for Python dictionaries, so that's a good one. But that one, the hidden API one, YouTube just pushed it. I have no idea why, but I'm happy. I'm happy with that. Budapest, hello. Nice. You installed Fleet on Arch Linux yesterday. Did you manage to get it installed all right without having to do a complete reinstall of your operating system from the ground up? I used Arch for a bit once when I was like learning Linux. It was fine. I quite liked it. When I set this machine up, it was originally a Windows machine because I convinced myself that as a man in their mid-30s, I still wanted to play computer games, even though I hated it. All the kids were better than me, and they swore at me consistently, and I didn't enjoy any of it. So I just installed Ubuntu to get going, and I've slowly turned that into this usable system now with my i3. But to be honest, I've still got a few issues, like I didn't set up the drives properly. My partitioning's all over the place with data that I need to sort it all out, and I don't like snaps. And unfortunately, I'm using Snap for a few things, and I don't like it. It sucks. I don't know why it's there. So, ideally, I would format. I'd like back up my actual data. I'd format everything and reinstall. And I might try something different. I don't know. I get no video card issues on Ubuntu, so that's a plus. There's no screen tearing or anything, and I'm an NVIDIA user as well, so I'll thank for that. AD, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Look into multi-threading. Yeah, I've got a good video on that. If you look, I think I call my videos also. Anyway, there's a good one on there where I look at threading and async. So if you've got, basically you want to look into asynchronous requests, and you can use HTTPX, does it really well. It's all in that video. Multi-threading is pretty useful though. I think, does concurrent futures come under multi-threading? Anyway, absolutely. And yes, multiple URLs simultaneously is exactly that. So that's cool. You can make a video using Python, Telegram. I could do stuff like that's pretty niche though, and it kind of comes under the category for me of I have to do quite a lot of work to present something that's useful, and in the way that I want to do it, and the return of viewership is usually pretty low because it's quite niche. I also don't use Telegram, so I don't really know a lot about it either, so I have to learn about that. SQLite and stuff though, I've done videos on how to use that. Brian, thanks man, appreciate that. Appreciate you dropping by and saying that. That's really kind of you, man. Isn't multi-processing better than threading? Not sure. Could be. Threading blocks. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think we might be getting our terminology a little bit confused. But yes. But for multiple URLs for requesting, you want async, basically. Because async lets you do stuff in the time that you're waiting for the request to come, the response to come back for the request, and over the long run, it's much quicker. And there's some good Python async libraries now, like HTTPX for asynchronous requests, which are pretty easy to use. Generally, as in, not generally, relatively. Just I love async stuff. So, yeah. I don't tend to use it as much anymore. I would use async more if I've got different sites and multiple websites, URLs that I want to all get information from at the same time. That's when I use it. Or you can just use Scrapey, which is Twisted, the Twisted Reactor, Twisted Framework, whatever it's called, which is, I don't know if it's exactly async, but it's kind of the same sort of thing, which is pretty good. That's why Scrapey's pretty fast. But then you got to learn how to use Scrapey as well, which is a bit more just another learning curve, really. Although it is pretty good. Pretty much the best, I suppose, if you want to do that sort of thing. Can I do a video on my thought processes? Yeah, I think I've covered that loosely. It'd be interesting to do, it would be interesting to cover that in more detail. Now that you mention, because it's definitely all in my head when I'm working on something or trying to do something. I suppose the first thing that I will do is I'll look at the site and I'll try to work out what I think the best way of getting the data is, and then I want to understand the scale. So how much information is it going to be and how many requests, and then I just have a poke around and see what you can get away with, I suppose, or what's easily available. So it's like trying to maximize the data received per requests. So like trying to keep the amount of requests as low as possible, getting the most amount of data. And then just testing HTML parsing, I suppose, is fine. if I need to do that. So avoiding blocking will be just testing out with the site whether you think if you're gonna do a lot, whether you need to use proxies or whether you can, spread it all out. So like if it's in categories or if there's chunks of the website, you could just do them at separate times. And then saving it or exporting it would be, I would almost always say use a database now, but CSV is fine depending on what you're trying to achieve. CSV's all right, but if you give someone a CSV, they'll open it in Excel and it'll fall over a certain amount of lines, I think. So it's always best if you can to save it into a database, and then you can pull out the database what you want. So it's the whole so I guess the first thing is looking at the site and understanding how you think you're going to pull the data, and then understand how that's going to work if you try and do that at scale. Then try and split it up into parts, and then really think about the rest of the project of what you're trying to get out of it, what you're going to try and do with the data, what you think you might do with it going forward, because that could well influence what you do now. So trying to keep on top of all those sorts of things, I think, is the key. And I like to I touched on this earlier when I was asked about pseudocode. I like to kind of keep a list of notes in the project file of sort of, this is what I'm doing, and this is like my list of tasks, quite generic tasks, and this is kind of what I think I'm going to do next type things. So it's quite good to understand it a bit there. Putting it together, it can be difficult. The worst and the best thing you can do is just jump in and start coding, because it's the worst because you might end up having to redo everything, but it's also the best because you get something back quickly, which is why I like web scraping projects in general, especially for people that are trying to learn, because you can find a site that has some kind of information that you're probably going to be interested in. And even if that specific one doesn't have it, you can find another one that you can easily grab some information in. And then with like 10 lines of Python code, you can have that information stored in a CSV file. But then you can really expand on that, and it gives you access to all this other cool stuff that Python can do, like all the data stuff, I suppose. CSV or database? Yeah. I suppose... Oh, no. My screensaver just came on, and in previous streams that's just ruined my audio sync. But I'm only going to be going for about 10 more minutes, so I'm just going to leave it. So you might just have to deal with the fact that my lips are going to be out of sync with the sound. Sorry. Wish I had more time to learn. I think everyone's in that boat. I guess the best thing you can do is just try and use your time as effectively as possible. Or, just accept and just, like, I've got loads of other things that I'm doing in my life. I just want to learn this for now, so I'm just going to spend a bit of time on it, and, it will be what it will be. Most of my first code was, I'm the same, Christoph. I guess it was what really kickstarted me wanting to learn more and more about Python. Trying to scrape eBay data, present it in the terminal. What's the best package to present the data? What, in the terminal, you mean? If you mean just putting it into the terminal in a nice way, look up, I think it's called rich or textual. If you're using pandas, you're really going to want to use some kind of notebook like Jupyter Labs, because then when you execute that cell, you can see all the results. So that might be worth looking at for you, like Jupyter, I suppose, is the main one. Best place to host a Python script. I host all my stuff on DigitalOcean. There's Linode as well. You will find that you can have problems with the IPs, and I think if you get to that point, you've got a few options. Really, it's you need proxies, which can be pretty cheap and cost effective, especially if like it works on a normal IP. Or you can, if you want to do it by yourself, you can get a Raspberry Pi and you can just run it on your home network, which is going to use your own IP, which is essentially the best IP you can get because it's a real residential IP. So that could be an option for you. It's a more initial outlay. And if you can get a Raspberry Pi at the moment, because like the chips and stuff are, supply chain's gone mad, but that's not a bad option. I did that for a while. I just moved it all online because I was accessing stuff from different places. Do you have any videos on processing the data? I have a few. Pandas videos that kind of pick up from a CSV. So like, let's say you scraped it to a CSV. I've had that, but they're only very basic. I tend to stop at the point. I get to the point where I want to get the information, and then whatever happens from there, I suppose. I don't really look into so much. I'm not sure what you mean by saying passing into HTML. Scrape to SQL and query to pandas. Yeah, that. Or pandas has read HTML as well, if it's tables. But no, what Christoph said. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that, GJ. The best thing you can do is just get to a point where you try and fail. So I think I say my general advice is do whatever you need to do to get to the end result, sort of. So like, if the end result is something outrageous and ridiculous, then I mean, like, if the end result is just to get some data from this website, just do anything that you can. Google, Stack Overflow, doesn't matter what it looks like, to get it so that output is kind of what you were hoping for. Because then you've actually achieved that, and then you go back and you can go, wow, that was just not the best way to do that. What's a better way? And then that opens you up to like, do you want to use, like functions? Do you want to use classes for this? Wow, what's the best way to manage my data here? Do I want to use data classes? What do I need to serialize my data? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? So that's a really good way. Oh, it's Crazy Fanatic, man. Hello, mate. Fleet looks good, but it's going to need extensions. That's where VS Code has got the whole thing tied up. But I don't think it's going to be a VS Code competitor. I think it's going to be more like collaborative working amongst professionals. I don't know. I quite like the look of it, because there's things about VS Code that standard that I don't like. Like I don't like it when my editor pops up this massive box with all this information about this function, and I'm like, it's a print function. I don't need this huge box, especially because when I'm recording, I just fucking zoom right in, and this thing just fills up my whole screen telling me what things I can put in. I was like, I don't want any of that. I know you can get rid of it, but yeah. I like PyCharm as well. I really like PyCharm, which is why I was interested in Fleet. That's the approach I take. Poop out code that just works and then come back. Sometimes you have to go back and completely rewrite it, but not always. Sometimes if the result is the result, then just get on with it. It's funny how like it's you get to the point where flying around it. You get to the point where it's you can look back on stuff that you wrote before and go, wow, that sucked. And you can understand how far you've come, because learning programming is such a tiny integral jumps. You get those aha, like, oh, that's how that works moments, but the amount of time you spent learning it up to that point is kind of like, so it's always nice to go back and see what you did before, and like, or even go back to projects that you did and redo them with new stuff that you've learned, even if they don't really need it. It's always nice, always good to keep typing code out, get it under your fingers. Have I tried Google Colab? I haven't actually, no. I'm not a massive notebook user. I suggested it for people that want to work with pandas, because you can see the data come up. You can see all the graphs and stuff if you use whatever that graph one is. Seaborn was the one that I started learning, which I thought was good. It was a different, it was an alternative to Matplotlib. So no, I've not used Colab. You use Anaconda? Fair enough. Fair enough. I started using Anaconda for a bit near the beginning of where I was learning. But I found... I just moved away from it and back to normal Python. I guess I don't do so much of the data side of things, I guess. I kind of, as I said, I kind of stop when I've got the data and I'm like, right, I'm done now. I never know what to do with data analysis. I just look at it and I don't know. What can you try and say with this? I should really learn more about it, to be honest. But there's so many, like I said, there's just so many things I want to learn. Like, I just need so little time, because I've got to work to earn my money. I want to do YouTube, so. And the rest of the time, I just want to sit on my arse and watch Netflix or YouTube. Hello, Monkey. Hey, Monkey. How's it going, man? Thanks for dropping by. Oh, yeah, it doesn't run. Yeah, that's right, because it gets it has its own event loop or something, doesn't it? So you can't run async stuff. That was one of the questions I got, like, because I used to say use request HTML. How's it going for you? I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Thanks for joining. So I used to use request HTML a lot, and when you would use that, it would require the event loop, or the event loop listener, event loop. Anyway, it would not work with thingies, notebooks. Yeah, people. Yeah, ML. Yeah, all those data people. They love Anaconda. I guess because it has all of the stuff already installed for them, so they don't have to worry about it. Use pip. Yeah, I've started looking at poetry more to manage my packages, Python, what they call projects. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I think I like it. The first Python project was a Discord bot. That's pretty cool. I want to make a Discord bot. I just haven't got around to it yet. Or rather, I want to learn how to make one. There's Discord. There's a Discord Pi package, isn't there, to get it all, to give you a good chance of getting, to give you a start in getting it going. Oh, I can't fucking talk. Theodore, nice to meet. Nice for you to drop by, mate. Good evening. How's it going? I'll lose my voice a little bit. It's all the crap I've been talking. You linked a web scraper to a Discord bot. That's what I was thinking about doing. I should really start a Discord, actually. It'd be quite useful for free content. Or at least that's what I see other people do. I just don't know if anyone would join it. Probably get spammed. Yeah, so I'm looking it up. It's got a fancy website. Oh. So it manages all your dependencies and does everything for you like this. I don't know how I feel. I think it's good. I think it's used by a lot of people. I think. But I don't know whether it's worth it yet over... Because I just use VMV. But you get the extra files and all that sort of stuff, which I think is quite useful in a way, especially if you're going to actually create a package. So I think it's worth. I think it's really worth looking into. I've used it for a few projects recently. I say I've used it. I've used it up to the same level that I would use VEMV for. So I haven't used any of the poetry specific stuff yet. I'm still learning, I guess. What kind of work do you do in your normal job? I work for a company that manages loads and loads of websites, and although I'm not a developer, I use Python to help me in that respect. So I got into Python so I could automate parts of it. And now most of the stuff is basically API stuff that I do with it just to make my life easier. Kind of vague, but I kind of want to keep it that way. If that's all right. Not that it's not that it's particularly interesting nor private, but just easy that way. Yeah, VMV is just what I learn. What I always, because I feel like when you're looking at and you're learning Python, you're like, I need to learn these virtual environment things. Well, everyone keeps doing it at the beginning of their videos. I have no idea what they're doing. When I was learning, it was it called Virtual Env? And then it was like VMV popped up, and I was like, that one. That's the one, and I just use it all the time now, and just create a requirements.txt file. Need to do more automation stuff. AHK, I'm not entirely sure what that is, but I've all the automation I've done is with Python. I found it really, really great. To be honest, I still do. I still have scripts that I run that basically just run Chrome. I use Playwright, and it just clicks on stuff and does things for me. And for that specific task, AutoHotkey. Okay, cool. For those specific tasks, that's the easiest way is just to run a browser, because it's not. Although it would be quicker and more efficient, the amount of time that I would save by going through to do this specific problem, to solve this specific, to solve that specific problem through the actual API would take so much more effort on my behalf. Whereas I just knock this script up in like 5 minutes, and I can just set it to run, and even though it will take 10 times longer, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter that it takes 10 times longer. Does that make sense? Basically what I'm saying is that my shoddy workmanship was okay in that respect, I think. Sometimes if it works, it works. It doesn't matter. Better to use Playwright than Selenium. I prefer Playwright just because I find it easier to work with. They essentially do the same thing, that they control Chrome or whatever browser. Although I think if you're doing actual testing, Selenium is still better because it's more mature and it's got a much bigger community, and there's like Selenium Grid as well, which I think manages loads and loads of different instances, but it's basically a testing tool. So I think if you were going to use it as such, I think Selenium might be the best option, but I don't know because I don't use them for that respect. I just use them to go onto a website, click on links, download stuff and do things. Yeah. Use whichever one you prefer to write for. I like Playwright's much newer, so I just find it easier to write the code for. Plus it's got code gen, which for the things that I use it for means that I can knock it up and have it working within like 5 minutes. So it's just not a big deal. Yes, that's what I like. I'd see more Playwright content. Yeah, I've thought about doing more. I just, it's just not that. I'm just not sure how interesting it would be. Even OS stuff. Yeah. I think bash scripting, if you know it, it's probably better, but absolutely, yeah. I still type most of that stuff out just by hand. Although there has been plenty of times when I could really do with some kind, just a quick loop for this. Python's so good for that sort of thing, though. There's I don't know if you guys are interested in like the cyber security stuff, but if you are, my favorite guy to watch on YouTube is John Hammond, and I like the videos where he, like, I'll say not reverse engineers, but goes through actual, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, like Trojans and like the rat tools, remote access terminal, whatever it is. You can tell I pay a lot of attention, but he uses Python a lot for those, and it's really cool just to see, like, you just want a specific thing done and you just quickly knock up a Python script to do it for you. Okay, I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that one yet. Okay, I haven't seen that one yet. Yeah, exactly. The reverse engineering out. Yeah, it's too complicated. I like to think that I understand what he's saying, but I just find it fascinating. Some of his other videos less so. Like, but those are the ones that I really like. Everyone's so eager for your future videos. I'm really waiting patiently. Yeah. You keep waiting patiently. Crazy Fanatic, man. We'll get you there. Can I drop a link to his channel? I think I can. Will it let me post links? Yes. He's as far as I'm aware, he's actually a real life cybersecurity professional as well. So not like me, where I just fake it on YouTube to make it. He's the real deal. What are you going to do in this video? You mean this live stream? Or what? I'm just talking, really. I'm probably going to go in a minute. It's been an hour and 10 minutes, and yeah, just chatting. I looked at Fleet briefly, but I was just talking. I like to come on and just talk about things, writing code, learning code, web scraping, web frameworks, what's going on, the weather. It's cold. It's grey. It's probably going to rain. Can you scrape Facebook Marketplace? I've not tried. The reason, probably yes. I tend to stay away from scraping stuff that's behind a login, just because it's a bit more of a grey area. I know that you can. I'm sure you can, and I'm pretty sure people do. But I try to stay away from that sort of thing. I'm more interested in data that I can like free and open data, I guess, where you can just access without having to log in. Yeah. Oh, right. Well, I think. What's your GitHub? I'll type it, will you? That. I pretty much only got stuff on there that's related to my videos. Near London, England. Might be moving soon though. We'll see. I know Python. I'm learning Go, which I like. Slowly learning because, you know. All right, except Python. I'm learning Go because I quite like it. It's quite different. But I'm slowly learning it. Like. So yeah, thanks for dropping by, everyone. Thanks for chatting. There's a few new people that I've noticed. It's been great, and a few old hands that keep turning up. So that must mean that they are tolerating it enough. So I'll keep doing it. Super. Right. Thanks everyone. Cheers, DJ. Thanks for sticking around and chatting. It makes a lot of difference. Cheers, guys. I will new video not till next week now because I'm not going to lie to you. I just didn't do it, or I did and I didn't like it, so I want to redo it, so it's better. Next stream weekend, hopefully, maybe Saturday.